All right, so we're gonna possibly deal with a little bit of shaky cam, but I think the majority of you people they're listening to me when I'm talking and just listening and not watching. But the reason why is because my son busted my fucking tripod. I mean, it was already falling apart, but he kind of finished it off. So I gotta hold the damn camera, and I plan on doing multiple videos, so might be a little, sorry. Anyway, so gonna talk about the Type R ownership. Bought the car in June. It is now going into November, so I've had it close to 6 months at this point, which I think is now at the point where I've actually been at this point for a little while now, like a couple of months, where I'm 100% completely adjusted to the car. It is my car. I know all the little things and ticks and bumps about it, and I know how it handles and what to expect from it in traffic and whatnot, what to expect from it in a straight line. So, of course, I said when I first got the car, my initial thoughts were the car's not super fast. It's not going to blow you away or anything like that. And that still holds true. But it's been a while since I've driven other cars. And I just recently came back from a trip up to DC, had a rental car. It was a Camry. It was a Slug. And then drove my wife's car, which is better than the Slug. It's a ATS, Cadillac ATS. And of course, it's a little bit better than the Camry, but still not as good as the Type R. And I think that's a decent representation of what the regular average cars are on the road, which are mostly commuter cars. So when you compare the Type R to cars like that, then yes, of course, it blows those cars out of the water without much effort. It's it The Type R brings me back to my SRT4 days. When I had that car, and I loved it. I love that car. It's still one of those cars I would love to own again. I think stock out of the box, they sound great. They perform great. It's not a fast car, but it's fast enough. Like it's fast enough to have some fun with. It's snappy responses. Moves pretty good. It'll get around most anything else that you're fucking with in traffic. So that's pretty good. But of course, if any real sporty car rolls up next to you, then that's a whole nother thing, a whole nother discussion. All right. But I guess that one of those things where I have a problem with car ADD. I kind of tend to get bored with cars relatively quickly and start looking at the next thing. I'm not bored with the Type R or anything like that, but there are some things I would like to do. Like there's some cosmetic things I've already started to look at. I'd like to lower the car. I'd like to get some wheels. Maybe do some shit with the steering wheel because I'm not too fond of it. I've never been one of those guys that's like big on the Alcantara things, but I've seen some aftermarket Alcantara steering wheels that work with the regular airbag and controls of the Type R that I think that wouldn't be bad looking. So that's what I started looking at first, was just what can I do to make it look better. And then of course you start thinking about modifications again. Like everybody's like, oh, intake and downpipe, you get so much of a power jump. And I guess relatively speaking, it is a pretty big increase in power just for a couple of bolt-ons. But it's not enough to where I would be like happy with the performance gains for the cost. Because Flash Pro, if you get into Flash Pro, you're looking at around $700 just to be able to tune the car. And then you're looking at let's say intake is around $350. The downpipe and front pipe is around $350. And then you're looking at $700 for the Flash Pro. So for two bolt-ons and the capability to tune, I think you're looking at around 330 to 350 horsepower on pump. Now, is that a significant jump over what the car makes stock? Of course, I think is with my Type R is rated around like 305 or maybe 310 horsepower. I think it makes like 280 something to the wheel. 280, maybe 285. So 285 to 230 or 255. Yeah, that's a pretty sizable jump. But I think for me to have the Type R where I would like to have it would be in the 400 horsepower range. And at that point, you're looking at full bolt-ons, bigger fuel pump, bigger injectors, all that stuff. And we're looking at, so just between the front pipe, down pipe, and intake and tune, you're looking at over $2,000. So if you're then you start looking at full bolt-ons and shit like that, and injectors and and fuel pump, will possibly $3,000 or $4,000. And I don't want a 285. So I know if I were to 285, I'd probably make closer to 400 with just the bolt-ons, basic bolt-ons and tune. But I don't want to lose my long distance drivability. And I've talked about that for years. So pump gas would be the car I'd want the fuel I'd want to tune this on. So my biggest problem with the car is, cost and performance, right? Because the market is wonky as fuck right now, and used car prices are like extremely high. The Type R is expensive. Average price for used Type R's down here are around 43,000, which is what I got mine. The lowest I've seen is 38,000 with some decent mileage on it, and then you see as high as 46 and 43 being the average median range, which is what I paid for mine. Now, I was upside down on my SI. I was good for a while, and then fucking the 11 gen got announced, and my fucking my value went through the fucking floor. So I was $7,000 upside down on the SI. So my walking out the door to get into the Type R was 50 grand, and so now of course 50 grand, like, oh my god, you're looking at it like, oh my god, it's a crazy money to spend on that car. Yeah, but again, I was trading out of a car I was upside down on. So $43,000 is the price of the car. Now again, so to look at the neighboring car, that like the one that's in the same price range performance wise, is the Supra, and the Supra runs low 12s consistently out the box. I've seen a bunch of fucking footage where it runs 12.1, 12.1, 12.1, 12.3. The Type R runs 13.5, 13.6 like at best, with a good driver that's got seat time practice. I'm seeing full bolt-on tune Type R's making high 300s running low 13s, 13.1, 13.1. So, I'm looking at the Type R and I'm like, I could put like $4,000 or $5,000 into tuning this car and getting it up to fucking 400 horsepower, and still, maybe if I'm lucky with drag slicks, do a high 12, compared to a Supra, which is literally the same price of what I paid for mine, that runs consistent low 12s, like almost flat 12s. Even the fucking even if you go on Google and just search like the stats for the car, it's rated at 12.3, 12.1. So that's pretty fucking good. The Supra is one of those things where the enthusiast market rejected it, and people aren't really buying those cars, so the MSRP did not get inflated like all the other cars did. Now, again, I've mentioned the Type R. If you get the Type R at MSRP, it's a great car. Like at that point, you can't really argue cost versus performance. But when you look at the inflated versions of the prices of the Type R versus potentially getting a Supra, then the fucking Supras makes more sense. But at the same time, I've got 2 kids. I'm the one that has to pick them up from school. We do family trips on the weekends and shit. More often than not, we're going in my car. So it's a lot more practical for me to have the Type R right now than it is for me to have the Supra. Now, but when I started looking at it again for, what can I have fun in? If it's just to drive around without modifying it, then the Supra is like literally impossible to beat right now. I think it's the fastest car on the market for that dollar. Everything else is the MSRP is blown out of the fucking water. Like the MSRP on the C8 is literally twice. It's like the cost value at the dealer is literally twice the MSRP for that car. NSX is at an unattainable price for me. So I don't know. I'm thinking like I would like to get the Z, but I think that the Z is going to fall right into the same trap as the Type R and all these other enthusiast cars have. I think that the MSRP is going to get blown the fuck out of the water by market inflation, and I think that car is going to be like $60,000 or going to be in that price range. So, I mean, because they're marketing as a competitor for the Supra, and I think that they wanted the base model MSRP to be at like 40 grand, with the markups being, or for package increases to be like 45 or whatnot. So I think that if we're going to see inflation, which average is looking like $10,000 over MSRP, then it's going to be like a $55,000, $60,000 car, and I don't know if I want to pay that. So anyway, I didn't want this to make this a compare and contrast between the Type R and the Supra, but I'm halfway into my first year. Of course, in another 6 months, I will be able to either refinance or trade. And I guess I'm gonna have to refinance because trading is just kind of out of the option for me right now because of circumstances with needing. I can't have both my cars be 2-seaters. So what I'm hoping is that when I get the S2000 up and running, the block is due back like any time now. Like that hopefully that'll take away my itch for wanting a faster car. But right now, I don't know. Right now, it's not looking too great for the Type R. It's definitely on the chopping block. So for any of you guys that wonder why I haven't done anything to it yet, it's because of that. I don't want to put bolt-ons and shit on this car, do things to this car to modify it, and then have to take it all off to put it back to stock again if I go to trade it in 6 months. Plus, we're looking at the money that would be invested in it that could be potentially lost. I mean, because you're never going to make your money back on selling used parts. So I guess this isn't really like, I don't know. It's not an in-depth detailed thing of the Type R. Oh, I guess one thing to throw in here before I forget, because I've mentioned this a bunch of times and people pushing back on it all the time, is like I keep saying that the suspension. Like, right, I say the car feels squirrely over 110 miles per hour, and people are like, well, mine feels fine. Maybe something's wrong with your car. No, you guys are misunderstanding what I'm saying. I'm not saying that there's a problem, but I am saying that it could benefit from, stiffer suspension and being lower to the ground. In a straight line, the car feels solid. I'm not taking it past 140 miles per hour. The car feels solid, is fine. But as soon as you start to turn at those speeds, you feel it. Like, you notice it. Like, if you're really in tune with your car, you can tell that you have to be very careful at that point, because it wouldn't take much to send your car, swirling down the road at that kind of speed. And yes, if you think that aftermarket performance fucking coils or coilovers or lowering springs or being lowered to the ground aren't going to help with that stability, then you're missing the point of what those mods are for. I know that everybody likes to slam fucking Honda Civics because it just looks better, but that's not what they were initially made for, and that's not what they're marketed as now. It's to add performance. And the lower you get the car to the ground, right, and the stiffer your suspension is, the better handling you will have at higher speeds. Yes, the car is capable of going at a lot of higher speed, and yes, it will hold together just fine in a straight line. But if you're really starting to push that car and you really want to get the top line stability out as much as you want, as much as you can, then yes, it will benefit from aftermarket suspension. And I think that's one of those things that everybody overlooks when they're building a car anyway. You just slam it on the cheapest shit you can get. And there is a great benefit of added stability, and it can let you push the car further safely, or safer, if you use the your aftermarket shit. All right, so that's it. That's it for this video. That's all I want to talk about, guys. Again, I do have new people that ask me about buying stuff and buying engines. VHBengines.com. It's not always up to date. It's not everything I have available. It just gives you a general price range on things. Do not buy from there without talking to me first, because of, obviously, for one, for availability, and two, because the website will mark you up significantly what you pay for if you, instead of just coming to me and let me sending you a PayPal invoice. All right, so there's that. Also, guys, if you want to support the channel, I do have a Patreon, but I don't really push that too often. But I am a parts dealer, so you can come to me to buy your engine parts, and you can buy them at retail cost. If I'm selling something I'm not super familiar with, like if I'm selling you something that I don't regularly sell, I will check the market first to see if I can match or beat that before I send you an invoice. And if I can't, then I will let you know that, hey, you can buy these cheaper here. All right. So you can show VHP some love and still send some money my way by buying your parts through me. Like if you want pistons, rods, bearings, head gaskets, even, etc., you can come through me with that. All right, guys. So, but I'd appreciate if you're not just doing it at the window shop. Like if you're really committed to buying something, let me know, because if you're buying something that I'm not super familiar with, that means I got to ask my distributor, how much things are, and I'd rather not be sending him DMs randomly throughout the day asking for prices and then not coming through with money. All right, guys, because that makes me look bad. So, thanks again for watching, and peace.